So we're going to start with the planning and control of inventory, study unit 1. For those of you guys that are signed up to the class, I'm going to upload a MAC3701 revision. So it's probably like 15, 20-page document. And it's just got like all the highlights of what happened in 2601. So if you want to go through there, I'm still going to cover everything. So I'm not going to just assume that you remember everything, because I don't even remember what I taught last semester half the time and I'm teaching it. So I don't assume, okay? I was in your position. I couldn't remember what I had studied the day after I wrote my exam. Okay, so this is theory, guys. I'm not going to sit here and teach you theory. So management of stocks, why we need to manage everything. So just want to highlight some points. So the scientific control of stocks may be analyzed in 3 parts. For those of you that forget everything, we did the EOQ in both 2601 and 2602 last semester, for those of you guys that did it. So your EOQ is your economic order quantity, and that's the main thing that we're looking at in this study unit. So what the EOQ is, how much stock do we need to buy to get the lowest cost? Remember, when we're buying stock, there's cost to it. So there's not just the cost of purchasing, the cost of delivery, the cost of insurance, how much stock can we hold, what discounts are we getting? So we need to take all of that into account to be able to get the best price. So your EOQ is this equation to basically say how many times or how much stock do I order once, well, and how many times a year to get the best price, so that I'm not paying these excessive holding costs, but I'm also getting the best value. I don't have to pay for all these delivery costs, because every time I get it delivered, it has to cost me 500 Rand versus how much insurance I'm going to have if I hold the stock. Okay, so it's a bit of a balancing act there. So if discounts for bulk purchases are available, it may be cheaper to buy stocks in large order sizes as to obtain the discounts. So we're going to do an EOQ. It's going to say we need to order 10 times a year or 12 times a year, once a month, 5,000 units. And that's our EOQ. But then what happens when the supplier says, well, listen, it's a bit of a mission because you're only ordering, I think I said 500 items a month. If you order 2,000, we'll give you a 10% discount. Then you have to weigh up the options. Which one's actually better? Is it better to now take that discount, or is it better to take your normal EOQ? Because when you do your EOQ equation, it doesn't come into, you don't take into account all those discounts. It's just based on your normal cost price at market rate. Okay. And then the uncertainty in the demand for stocks and or the supply lead time may lead to a company to decide to hold buffer stocks. So for those of you guys that do remember, you've got a bit of safety stock. So your safety stock is that if it takes 2 weeks for them to deliver to me, and I order 500 units, but there may be, an extra supply. Someone might come in and want more, because remember, you don't sell 1 unit a day every single day. Sometimes you may have 2, 3 customers. Other days you might have no customers. So it's not an exact science where every single day I use this much stock. So you've got a bit of uncertainty, and for that reason we have our safety stock. So we have an extra week or 2 weeks worth of supply based on our average demand. Obviously, guys, you can't do this if you have seasonal products. So if you're a Truworths and you're selling skirts, little mini skirts for summer, you're not going to hold mini skirts for the whole year. So you can't use this formula to go and say, okay, well, this is how much I'm going to order mini skirts in the middle of winter. I'm sure someone will buy them. Okay, so you just need to understand that there's limitations to it, and the pros and cons of everything. Okay, so your reasons for holding inventory, your transaction motive. This refers to holding inventory for day-to-day use in the production of process or sales. So we want to sell our stock. We have stock, so we can sell it. Your precautionary motive is in case you need more stock. And speculative motive, this refers to holding more or less inventory than usual because of a change in the supplier's price as anticipated. So if you know that, say you're buying gold for whatever your jewelry shop, you might not buy your gold to make your rings and everything just yet. You may wait a little because you know that the stock prices are going down. Okay, or up, vice versa. Okay. Your stock costs, so this comes into your EOQ equation, guys. Everything that we basically need to take into account, because when we hold stock, we basically, it's not just a matter of let me stick it on the shelves and that'll be great. How big is our storeroom going to be? What is the insurance cost? Do I need security if it's high value items and tablets that you may be selling that I need to hire someone now to make sure that no one's going to steal my stock and all that? So there's a lot of cost involved. It's not just the purchase of the stock that's involved. So your holding costs comprise of the cost of capital tied up. So that's the amount that I have to pay for my stock. Remember, guys, when we're doing that costing, so I don't know how many of you guys have done 2602 already? Okay, so 2602, we learn we do some ratios and working capital management, and we learn that if you're giving up money, so you're paying for your stock, because we work on, when we do this, that we're going to pay for the stock immediately. We're losing out on money that we could have invested in another project, giving a return of say 10%, or interest in the bank that could have given us 8%. So if we're buying extra stock and we're paying for it, we're losing out on that investment that we could have invested somewhere else. So this capital tied up, it's not just the actual investment, it's what we're going to be losing out on, what else we could have invested if we buy that stock. So your warehousing and handling costs, so you obviously need a bigger storeroom and bigger warehouse if you have more stock. Your deterioration, so if you buy too much stock, you're going to lose out on products. Products could go obsolete, you could break things. I mean, if you're selling light bulbs and you've got millions of them, the chances are that they're going to break and crack and everything and get dusty sitting in the back of a storeroom, very likely. So you're going to want to keep less stock like that on hand. Your obsolescence and insurance and pilferage, so people stealing and any insurance costs that go with it. So if you guys have a fire in your warehouse, you're going to lose, and you're not insured adequately because you say, oh, you know, R1 million cover on our stock is sufficient, and you've actually got R3 million worth of stock, you're only getting R1 million back, you're losing R2 million of value of your stock. So you need to make sure you're insured properly. With that comes higher premiums, so there's extra cost. So you want to keep minimal stock on hand when it comes to things like that. So procuring costs depend on how the stock is obtained, but will consist of ordering costs. So ordering costs are a bit obsolete nowadays. I think back in the day it was like you had to pick up the phone and you had to fill out paperwork and possibly get it hand delivered because we didn't scan and email, things like that. But there's not much involved in actual procuring. So other than like, I mean, they say your telephone charges. I don't know how you're going to quantify how much time you spent on the phone phoning the supplier to find the cost, but they normally will give you your procurement cost. They will say that it costs 30 Rand. They won't go and say this and this and this and this and figure out what percentage of the telephone bill relates to this order. Okay. And then your shortage costs may be the loss of the sale and the contribution which could have been earned from the sale. So if we run out of stock because we haven't done our calculations correctly, we're going to have less. Someone's going to walk in and say, okay, today I want to buy this couch. Oh, you don't have this couch? Sorry, I'm leaving and I'm going to go to another store and buy it from there. Okay. So if you don't have the stock, you're going to be losing sales. Not many people will be like, okay, I'll come back in 2 weeks. Because for me personally, I'm not going to wait for something if I want it. The extra cost of having to buy an emergency supply of stocks at a high price. So fine, we found a way, there's another supplier that can deliver today the stock that we need, but they're going to charge us for it. There's no way they're going to give us the same price as a supplier that takes a week normally to get it. Otherwise, we would have been buying from them long ago. So it's going to cost extra, which means you're going to be making less profit. And the cost of lost production on sales, where the stock out brings an entire process to a halt. So we're manufacturing. Remember, what we're going to deal with most here is our costing, and that's going to be in a manufacturing environment. So if we don't have one item, we can't continue manufacturing. So basically, we're going to stop, we're going to have nothing to do, and everything's going to be put on hold. You're going to have employees there that you're paying to do nothing, basically. Okay. And then the cost of stock itself, so the supplier's price or the direct cost per unit. Okay, the stock models, guys, you can read through yourself. Okay, and then we're going to get to the EOQ formula. Is this familiar for any of you guys? Do you know how to do it? Okay, so I'm going to go through it in a lot of detail for you guys. So the economic order quantity is the optimal ordering quantity for an item of stock which will minimize cost. So this, guys, is the key here. They're not going to say, do the EOQ formula and give us how much we need. They're going to say, what in the question they're going to ask, what is the quantity that we should order in order to minimize costs? It will not even mention EOQ. So you need to understand your objective here is to minimize costs. So when you see minimize costs of ordering stock, this is what we're looking at. Okay. Big thing here, guys, and it should be highlighted. You always round up. If it says our answer gives us, and I'm going to do the calculation with you now, if it says 1,000.1, normally we would round to 1,000 if mathematically, because 0.5 you round up, anything lower you round down. But if I'm ordering 1,000 and I need, say, 12,005 or something, whatever, at the end of the year, and I'm ordering 1,000 every month, I'm going to be short 5 items at the end of the year because I'm ordering one less every time. So rather over order that extra one item than under order that one item. Okay, so always round up. There's no mess here. Even if it's 0.001, you have to round up because eventually you're going to be short an item.